Hey there, Julia Rose here. I pray this message finds you at the precise time you need it. As always, take what resonates with you and leave the rest for everyone else. This is a little bit different than the normal readings that I do, but if you clicked on this video, it's because there's something in this set of messages right now that is going to change the way you think about something. Okay, so one of the biggest shifts that I am starting to see in the collective is how you think about time. Of course, it's a timeless reading, so whenever you find it, there's going to be something here for you. My name is Julia Rose. I'm a psychic medium and Reiki master, and I'm here to help you live your bestest free life. So, let's get right into it. In this message, I want to break down the most common misconceptions, or at least the most common in the work that I do with my clients, misconceptions of shadow work. What is shadow work? Why does everyone talk about it? What does this really genuinely mean? And how can you use it to serve you? Now, I said before that some of the biggest kind of collective changes I'm seeing right now in the broader energies is the way that you're approaching time. Your relationship with time is shifting. Your understanding of time is shifting, which makes it really fitting that this is something that Spirit would give me the download to break down for you. Okay, so I wrote and channeled a list of 8 myths that I'm going to debunk with you. I'm going to demystify shadow work and what it means and where Spirit will show me I can help you fill in some of the gaps as well as create connections between certain ideas that you might have already had but not had the understanding of how to bridge the knowledge into practice. Okay? And I'm going to be talking a lot about the law of attraction within this kind of breakdown. Okay, so let's start with the very first myth. Okay, number 1, shadow work keeps you stuck in the past. I want to be clear that this is false. False. Shadow work does not keep you stuck in the past. Shadow work is a means of reconciling with things you might rather not look at. It's a way of changing your perception around things that have hurt you, as well as your own faults, your own shadow aspects, not just the shadow aspects of others. Carl Jung defined the shadow of the psyche as everything that is suppressed, whether due to societal and cultural conditioning or your own life experiences. We're going to take that a step further and say your ancestral wounds and your past life wounds. All of these are the things that we would consider, me and my guides would consider to be shadow aspects, which really just means that, again, they're kind of uncomfortable to sit with and work through. You would also put your triggers in your shadow. So if shadow work doesn't keep you in the past, why is that a misconception? As you start to progress on your spiritual journey, maybe some of you are noticing that you came into this path and you would find yourself drawn to a message like this because you've been through a lot of pain. You've suffered a lot, been through so much trauma, and you are wanting to change the way you think. You've been wanting to change the way you feel. And so, in some respect, therapy, talk therapy, counseling, these are actually forms of shadow work. The goal of shadow work is to change the way that you think about things, change the way you react to going from those subconscious, unconscious reactions to a conscious decision. That's one lens. Shadow work asks you to take a different stance on every single thing you've been through. So naturally, on the spiritual path, this becomes a question of, okay, well, what do I believe in? Who even am I? What kind of person must I be or must I have been in order to have suffered all this time? So, in that regard, you're tying in the understanding and breaking down of your past through some kind of larger philosophy, a wisdom orientation, if you will, whether that's religious or non-sectarian, is entirely according to your karmic contracts and what resonates with you. Again, we're religious tolerant here. Everyone's welcome. God is not exclusive. So the truth is that where this myth says shadow work keeps you stuck in the past, the truth is that shadow work helps you reframe the past and thereby gives you closure. It helps you find some sense of resolution to change the way you think about something or someone, a situation, enough that it's no longer this close to you. You've created distance and essentially can let go. So that brings me to the second myth. Number 2, you'll be doing shadow work for the rest of your life. Not true. There are some principles and themes that you will carry forward with you from the periods of time in your life where you are called to sit down and unpack some of the baggage that you've been carrying with you. Absolutely. But you are not meant to take it with you everywhere. You are meant to let go, to release the burden, to release the heaviness, to release the pain, to process and release. A lot of people get stuck in the overanalyzing and don't really get deep enough into the processing that the release is found. All of this in shadow work comes through finding the perspective and changing the way you think about not only yourself in relationship to um, these these experiences or these connections, these circumstances, but also how these circumstances affected you at different points in your life. Everyone on the spiritual path, on the journey of awakening to self, is called from time to time, or maybe sometimes longer periods of time where you're just like, okay, I'm deep diving into my soul. Let's just sort this out. What the heck is really happening with me? And it's really important that you don't rush that process because that's also part of you reclaiming your narrative. The whole idea of awakening is that you can see yourself clearly. Shadow work helps you to integrate and shine the most compassionate, loving light on the parts of you that you necessarily wouldn't have been able to call forward and integrate into your being with a perspective of condemnation, of shame, of guilt, of self-loathing, or blame, whether that's towards yourself or to others. You have these periods of time in order to help you reclaim your power. And that brings me to the next myth, number 3. All healing in shadow work is one and done. It's not always true. And this is where spiritual bypassing comes into the conversation. It's very easy to rationalize and intellectualize how things happen to you and how things exist in this world. And for sensitive folks, I know most of the people drawn to my messages would consider themselves to be highly sensitive people, empathic, light workers, healers of all sorts. You don't need to be afraid of looking at something more than once. And so, where spiritual bypassing came into this idea is that spiritual bypassing means that you're using your intellect, your spiritual rationalization, to explain without processing something that is happening, whether that was in your past, something that happened, or something that's going on in the world around you, past or present. The bypassing is where you're creating an artificial separation or detachment, and thereby interrupting the process of coming back to your body. Again, a lot of sensitive folks who are on the spiritual journey tend to resonate with the idea of, at some point, maybe for a long time, maybe for times and times again, periods of time where you feel disembodied. You feel like you're floating. You're not grounded. You're not really there. Like you're dissociated. Where spiritual bypassing comes into play is it's the block between coming out of the dissociation and into embodiment. It's the barrier. Shadow work is not only a reclamation of your power, but it's a reclamation of your freedom to feel however you feel, to honor your emotions, to honor all that your body has survived, all that you inside your body and connected to your body have survived. So the myth is that this is one time you look at something, that's it, you healed it. The analytical understanding, the intellectualization and rationalization is the first part of that. The second part of processing is, well, how does that make you feel in your body? Do you feel tension? Do your shoulders come up to your ears? Do you feel triggered thinking about something? Snappy, short, exhausted, avoidant? All of these kinds of things are ways that you can feel in your body as a response to trauma, plus many, many more. So the first step really, yes, is to understand the stories that define you. Understand then, step 2, overcoming spiritual bypassing, which everyone goes through. Again, let's not also get into the habit here of pointing fingers and saying, well, you're not embodied, you're da 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 da. They're not talking about that in a way that's really genuine. Spiritual bypassing is when you're presented with the choice to go deeper into your body and feel, to go deeper into that processing and step away and avoid that. But until you recognize that that's what you're doing, You're not going to be able to see that. And so everyone's journey in coming into awareness of how they process is their own journey. Again, most people probably won't talk about spiritual bypassing like that, but it's something everyone goes through. Okay? So you're going through things in stages. Coming back to the next one. Okay, there's a little bit more I want to say about number 3. What else? What did you say, Spirit? Your tipping point out of spiritual bypassing is when you realize that you're disconnected from your emotions and you're disconnected from your feelings, in a sense that you're emotionally detached or guarded or avoidant, these kinds of things. That's the entry into going deeper into understanding yourself. And that's also going to clear that energy from your body every time you process it. Okay, so we're coming back to this being a journey, not a forever sentence, but a journey of processing. It takes time and it's not forever. At least not in the way that you're probably thinking it is, which is the doom, gloom, and deep cathartic crying. Okay, that's not forever. That's necessary at different parts of your journey, but it's not forever. So we come to number 4, shadow work myth. Shadow work alone will fix my problems. And that's not true. Shadow work isn't meant to be something that fixes all of your problems. It's also not supposed to be something that you embark upon as a journey to then judge others for their lack of work on that level. Okay? Because as you begin to reclaim more of your power, as you are working towards healing and reconciling the gap between where you are suffering and where you want to be thriving, which is a huge inventory of your personality, your habits, the way you connect to people in relationships, your values, your structure in your life, your relationship to discipline, your relationship to faith, your relationship to thinking versus acting, your relationship to praying, to manifesting, the way you think about work and working. All of these things are meant to work together to help you pivot in your life. Shadow work alone can help you in tandem with other tools and practices. Shadow work is about how do you change the story? How do you ultimately change your beliefs according to what your values truly are? So, for example, if you're the kind of person that likes to put yourself out there and be very forthcoming and honest in your relationships about how you feel, but you get rejected, those rejections hurt. But if you value courage and you reframe that to say, instead of, well, no one wants me, you say instead, well, you know what? I was brave enough to admit how I feel. And if these people or this person doesn't feel the same way, then they're not wasting my time. And that just means that the person who will meet me halfway is on their way. Do you see how different those things are? When you are reclaiming your sense of self, when you reclaim your sovereignty, which is probably the core reason that anyone adopts a spiritual path, to reconnect with the truth of who you are and the truth of what you want without condemning yourself, you become more and more aware each and every time you recognize how these patterns are defining the way you speak about yourself. That's another very core principle of shadow work, is your self-talk, healing your self-talk and your self-perception. When you are healing timelines and you are healing dynamics of disempowerment, the validation that you have actually healed that is when you're moving from one side of the coin to the other, okay? And from there, you launch forward. In this example that Spirit had me give, exactly saying, well, you always put yourself out there and you value courage, you value emotional honesty and emotional intelligence and that heartfelt connection. If you're around people that aren't valuing that same thing and you're experiencing rejection, what you're starting to see is that as you reclaim the narrative and say, okay, you know what? I put myself out there. I know what I want. What you're experiencing was what you don't want, which is the lack of acceptance, the lack of reciprocation. Now you know what you're going to create next. What do you want? You want someone that'll meet you halfway. You want someone that will understand your emotional landscape. You want someone that gets you and that has the same values as you. When you focus on what you want, that's the law of attraction, right? You focus on what you don't want. When you're creating unconsciously, you don't know that you're focused on what you don't want. So as you gain more consciousness, more self-awareness, that's giving you the power to use the tools of existence, like the law of attraction, to say, well, this is what I do want, so let me focus on that. You're changing your self-concept, expanding it to incorporate and integrate more truth, more compassion, more acceptance. So then you can shift and pivot to wherever you're trying to go, whatever you're trying to manifest. You see, it's many things that go into this. But it starts with that reclaiming of the narrative, which means looking at the things that scare you, and that's why it's called shadow work. So you're probably thinking, well, damn, Jules, that's a lot. So we come to number 5. Shadow work myth number 5. There's too much healing to do. There's too much healing to do. No. In this realm, we are gifted with forgetfulness. And some of you have been holding yourselves to things that you cannot remember. Things that you cannot remember. I feel this way, but I don't know why. But nothing's coming up for me as to why I feel like this. Well, maybe it's just the emotion. Maybe it's just the feeling your body is experiencing that wants acceptance from you. Not, well, figure it out so I can change it. Well, honor what is. Honor what is. And you see in that statement alone, it's not just constantly dredging up the past. Shadow work is not about living in the past. That was the first myth we debunked. It's about the things that keep you feeling stuck in the past. How do we shift our mindsets about those things and then move forward? reclaiming your power from anything that keeps you feeling stuck, stagnant, and less than deserving of everything you want. That is the crux of shadow work. Some of you might be drawn to things like healing your nervous system, somatic healing, focusing on your physical body, taking up a yoga practice, focusing on getting your health in order. That's also a part of your shadow work. And you might be saying, well, I have a long way to go. Well, do you? Because the fact that you can recognize where you want to be means it's already closer than you think. And in that sense, time is your tool. Time is your resource to help you focus on the things that are going to help you get to your goals. You're healing your relationship to time. That was the first thing that I said. You're healing your relationship to time. And you know what? This perfectly pivots to number 6. Myth number 6. You'll never be free of the things that haunt you. That is simply false. That is false. You don't have to be defined by anything that does not serve you. And I think the gravity and breadth of that statement is what trips so many people up. Well, Julia, what do you mean? That I don't, what no longer serves me? Well, what do you mean? I don't even know what that means. Well, defining yourself presently based on who you were in the past. Defining yourself based on your failures. Defining yourself based on your goals and needs of the version of you that existed 5, 10, 20 years ago. It's so important with this one especially that when these things are coming up for you, they're invitations for you to see things differently. Shadow work at its core is meant to help you change the way you think about things. It's meant to be a tool in your box to help you pivot. So, if you're haunted by a connection or haunted by a memory or an experience, every time that comes up, you need to change the way you think about that. Okay? Look for the things that you can genuinely maybe say were positive. I had a roof over my head. I had food in my belly and I had clothes on my back. I was surrounded by people who were curious about the same things that I was. I was having my needs met. I learned a lot. I sat by this one window where the view was beautiful, and that was always so wonderful. You need to replace and override that unconscious thought loop with something that interrupts it every single time. Because when you find that interruption, every single time, the more you do that, you're changing the way literally your brain is operating. You're changing the way your brain processes that specific thing that haunts you. But it has to be realistic and it has to be something that is related to that circumstance. Again, coming back to the question, what do you want versus what do you not want? You do this enough times And you soften your self-perception enough, your self-talk enough that you say, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense that sometimes that still comes up. You were really bothered by that, but you know what? We're safe now. You telling your inner self, you telling your body this out loud. I'm safe now. I'm out of this situation. I don't have to go back there again. But instead of the double negative, say, I'm free to focus on my future. I'm free to focus on my future. And create looking forward instead of looking backwards. Do you feel how different that is? And that brings us to myth number 7. Your past holds the key to your future. Not always. Sometimes, if there were dreams that you abandoned that you always wanted, and you said, you know, I would have done this if I was given another chance, well, take that chance now. But constantly looking backwards for something that's going to take you forwards is not going to help you actually move forward, because it's like driving only looking in the rear view mirror. You can't actually see where you're going because you don't have an accurate sense of what's around you. Stop looking in the rear view mirror. The point of shadow work is not to keep you stuck in that reflected image of the past. The goal is to help you find closure to the point that you get to a place where you can say, you know what? I don't have to keep worrying about what everyone else is doing. I don't have to worry about, well, they did this because they're like this and I shouldn't take that personally. Or this happened because this person was dealing with that and you know what? They were dealing with that. And this person said this and they said this and it made me feel like this. And hey, remember when that happened? The past is the past. The past is in the past. It came and it went and it's gone. The key to your future is now. And sometimes you need to put those blinders up on your brain and say, yeah, we're not focusing on that. Don't give your brain a reason to let you feel crappy. Don't let your brain give you all of these reasons to make you feel bad for no reason. When you're getting the help that you need, when you're finally putting in effort towards your goals or those tasks that you've been working so hard to muster up the energy towards. If it's really been that difficult, it's because you haven't been focused on the right things. Like I said, the myth here, number 7, your past holds the key to your future. Not true. The key to your future is now. And the last myth from Spirit. With enough shadow work immersions, you'll be free and clear forever. And I want to say that that is specifically referring to this idea that you have to dig into the trenches really hard and for a very long time so that you can say, well, I dig up enough dirt, I did it. But you're just dirty. No, that's not what you want. Again, remember, shadow work is supposed to be a tool that helps you let go of the past. It's meant to help you find closure and self-acceptance, to help you come into greater compassion with yourself. Yes, of course, this kind of stuff comes and goes in waves. But Spirit's asking you to stay focused on what really matters to you right now. This means regaining conscious control of your mind. You becoming the director of your mind instead of letting your mind go everywhere with you. dragging you through the mud again. Nope. Mindfulness. Have a rebuttal for everything that your brain tries to degrade. Just like a little child. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so silly. Every time your brain says something really rude to you, or really harsh, really judgmental, when you do that, you are interrupting the habit that whatever your mind says defines your experience. The goal of awakening, the goal of the spiritual journey is to become conscious, to take your automatic default decisions that are beyond your own awareness because they're just so conditioned, to become aware of those and go, oh, wait, no, it takes training. It's like learning a new sport or learning a new instrument. It takes time. Does that mean that it's going to take forever? No. Is the difficulty of that going to last forever? Also, no. Not when you get into the habit of regaining conscious control of your thoughts, choosing the thoughts that serve you. This is why affirmations are so powerful. This is also why mindfulness is so powerful. Journaling exercise is about manifesting for the future. It keeps your mind focused. The default is negativity. When there's nothing for the brain to constructively work on, the human ego defaults to fear and creating fear. So when you're not actively choosing things in your life, when you're not actively creating or thinking about what's going to benefit you most moving forward, you're giving your brain, your monkey mind, permission to take you on a whole little journey of self-deprecation, of self-loathing. I don't want that for you. Your spirit team doesn't want that for you. The creator doesn't want that for you. So, Spirit really had this strong message on my heart today about debunking these myths of shadow work. Let me know in the comments how this resonates. If you're new to my channel, you probably don't know this if you haven't looked at the description box yet, but if you go and take a look now, I have a link to a shadow work bootcamp, okay? And for 6 weeks, I walk you through different themes of guided meditations and examples of situations and emotions that create feelings or situations that keep you stuck in the past. And I walk you through examples of how to change those and the different techniques in meditations where you can walk yourself through changing your perspective on those circumstances and on those connections. Super affordable, 6 weeks of guided meditations, those examples, a workbook for you to go through to track your changes somatically and mentally, as well as Reiki sessions packed into those guided meditations, okay? The breakdown, the examples of how to flip the script, the guided meditations jam-packed full of Reiki, the weekly affirmations to go along with the theme for the week, as well as the workbook. You can tune into that for $27. $27 of reclaiming your power. Come on, 6 weeks, it's a steal. It's a steal. But I do say it's a boot camp for a reason, because while you might be only doing a little bit every day, a lot is coming up for you, okay? And so it's important that you're really focusing on nurturing yourself as well. Anyone who signs up for the boot camp has access to a discount code for my readings, okay? For half-hour readings, only for people enrolled in the course, in the boot camp. If you're needing extra one-on-one guidance on how to change things around for you, okay? The link for that is in the description box below. Again, also, I'm running a super summer sale for the month of July, and all of my readings, all of my Reiki sessions, everything is discounted. You don't have to worry about a code or anything at all. The prices have been marked down on my website. So you'll find everything there. If you're new here, welcome. Welcome to our soul tribe. I'm so happy you clicked on this video. If you made it to the end, drop a new moon, okay? Because we're coming up on the new moon energy tomorrow. I hope to see you for the live stream where I'll be going through a download for that energy, as well as a Reiki sound bath activation with the new moon energy. It's going to be wonderful. I hope to see you there. All right, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can get notified as to when I go live, which is irregularly and often, okay? Meaning it's not the same time every week except for my Saturday morning lives. So, again, welcome in. If you made it to the end, drop a new moon emoji and let me know how this resonated with you. Which one of these myths or one of these points is like your biggest takeaway. Okay? I will see you very soon. Till the next one. Bye.